understanding the gospel is very important. When you say you're preaching the gospel, what is your message? What is the gospel? What is the gospel? What is the gospel? We say the gospel of your salvation. Yeah, but you can't tell the story of salvation from one side. He brought you out to bring you in. The in part is what most don't know nothing about. Because the message is incomplete. They're not told about the in. They're told about the out. He saved you from sin. Yes, he saved you from sin. That's easy. Anybody can understand that. He died to bring you out of sin. But it takes a whole lot more to understand what you brought you into. He brought you into his righteousness. So what is his righteousness? That's something you got to study in the Word. Because everybody knows sin. Well, you do something that's not okay for you, or okay for the other person, or okay for God, that's sin. That's simple. But talking about righteousness, you cannot know righteousness except you know the Word of God. Because he's the one who determines what is right. You can decide what righteousness is. Can I read something to you? Go to Romans. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. My. I'm going to read from verse 30, chapter 9, book of Romans. What shall we say then? That the Gentiles which followed not after righteousness have attained to righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith. But Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, hath not attained to the law of righteousness. Look at that. It says the Gentiles who were in seeking righteousness have attained righteousness by faith. By faith, not by their works. But Israel that pursued the law of righteousness. See, because they have to fulfill the law. So they said, if we fulfill the law, we'll be righteous. Then it says, Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, hath not attained to the law of righteousness. Wherefore, it says, why? Because they sought it not by faith, but as it were, by the works of the law. For they stumbled at that stumbling stone. As it is written, behold, I lay inside a stumbling stone and rock of offense, and whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. So he goes on in the next chapter, in the first verse. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. It says, for they, being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God. Did you see that? They're going about to establish their own righteousness. I said, it's important to know how to serve God. You can't serve him your own way. Some people say, I serve God my own way. I say, you're wrong. He doesn't want your way of serving him. I was ministering to a man one day, talking about Jesus Christ. And he was explaining to me how he knows God for himself and so on. So I said, tell me, have you ever been wrong about anything in your life? He said, oh, of course. I said, really? He was surprised that I would ask him such a question, because he says, but everybody gets something wrong in his life. I said, really? I said, tell me, what if this one time you're wrong about how to serve God? What if you're wrong? And then you live your whole life wrong. And you die with your assumptions. He said, you have a point. I said, I have more than a point. I'm not scoring a point. I'm trying to help you. I said, my claims are not coming from my intelligence. My claims are coming from the book that God sent to us, the Bible. I said, do you believe the Bible? He said, I believe the Bible. Oh, you believe the Bible? Do you read it? No. But you believe it? Yes. I said, so I can read to you from the Bible. So there are a lot of people who live an assumption. In their head, they just think this is the way. So he says, they going about to establish their own righteousness have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God. And I wonder how many here in your own individual life is trying to establish your own righteousness. Because it happens. Some people have they have just their own principles. They say, I'm a principled man, I'm a principled woman, and all their principles are based on their decisions that they chose. This is how